It all began with a sharp, deliberate knock, a sound that pierced through the serene summer air like a blade slicing through stillness. Michael, a reserved man who had called his modest Wiltshire home his sanctuary for over 3 decades, could hardly fathom such an intrusion. His life had been nothing but peaceful, a quiet rhythm of routine and reflection. As he approached the door, his mind raced with possibilities. Was it a friendly neighbor? A package delivery, perhaps? But when he opened the door and found 2 officers standing there, their expressions unreadable, his world tilted on its axis. One officer spoke, his tone professional yet firm. "We're here to investigate a disturbance." He held a clipboard, the words as heavy as a hammer. Michael's heart dropped. A disturbance? From him? The very notion was absurd. His days revolved around tranquil moments, coffee by the pond, pruning his well-tended garden, and basking in the comforting hum of a quiet village life. How could anyone associate him with disruption? Keeping his composure, he gestured for the officers to step inside. What followed left Michael speechless. Minutes later, Annette, his newly arrived neighbor, stormed in with an icy demeanor that matched her polished exterior. Her voice was sharp and venomous, cutting through the room like a whip. "He doesn't belong here," she snapped, her words dripping with malice. "He's ruining our village." Michael stood frozen, her accusations reverberating through his mind. This wasn't a simple misunderstanding, it was personal, and the undertone of prejudice hit harder than he thought possible. For a man who had quietly and humbly built a life of dignity, being labeled as an outsider, grainy photos of Michael standing in his cherished garden began circulating around the village. The captions were cruel and provocative. "Does this man make you feel safe? Demand a safer neighborhood." Each new attack, each whispered rumor, chipped away at Michael's sense of peace. His sanctuary, the garden that had once been his refuge, now felt like a public stage where Annette orchestrated her relentless vendetta. Sleepless nights became his new normal as he lay awake, replaying every moment, every interaction, trying to understand what he could have done to deserve such malice. The once comforting rustle of the leaves outside now seemed to carry the weight of judgment. But even amidst the despair, a spark of determination flickered within him. "She won't win," Michael whispered one night, clutching a steaming mug of tea in trembling hands. His voice, though shaky, carried a quiet resolve. "I won't let her take this from me." Determined to reclaim his life, Michael sought allies among those who still believed in him. Mrs. Bennet, his elderly neighbor and longtime confidant, didn't hesitate to offer her support. One evening, as they spoke over the fence, she shook her head with a mixture of frustration and warmth. "That woman is delusional, Michael. We all know who you are. You're the heart of this village. She's the outsider, not you." Mr. Singh, another neighbor, stepped forward with critical evidence. His security camera, which partially overlooked Michael's property, had captured shocking footage. Annette had been trespassing, peering into Michael's windows, snapping pictures of his garden, and even breaking branches from his hedges to stage her damning photos. Armed with this evidence and bolstered by the encouragement of those who truly knew him, Michael sought the help of a solicitor. The legal process loomed ahead, daunting and unfamiliar, but he poured every ounce of his energy into gathering statements, compiling footage, and filing a formal complaint. The day he handed over the stack of evidence, a glimmer of hope returned to his weary heart. For the first time in weeks, he felt as though he was no longer alone in this fight. When the court summons landed on Annette's doorstep, her smug confidence visibly wavered. At the hearing, Michael sat quietly, his hands clasped tightly, as his solicitor presented the case with clarity and precision. The CCTV footage spoke volumes. Annette crouched near his fence, her phone aimed at his home. Witness testimonies painted her as a woman consumed by a baseless vendetta, obsessed with tearing down an innocent neighbor. Even the police report from the day she had filed false complaints against him was used to expose her lies. Annette's defense crumbled as she clung desperately to her fabricated narrative of protecting the village, but the magistrate saw through her charade. "This is harassment," the magistrate declared firmly, their words ringing through the courtroom. "And it stops now." Annette was issued an antisocial behavior order, strictly forbidding her from approaching Michael or continuing her defamatory campaign. Additionally, she was ordered to pay damages and legal fees, a significant, symbolic victory for Michael. The aftermath of the hearing was swift and telling. Annette, once a source of disruption, found herself ostracized. The villagers who had once believed her lies now turned their backs, ashamed of their complicity. One by one, the defamatory posters vanished, torn down by Annette herself under the watchful eyes of local constables. From his garden, Michael observed her undoing with quiet satisfaction. The scars of her campaign lingered, but his spirit was no longer weighed down. Slowly, his garden transformed once more into a haven of healing. As the days turned into weeks, the village began to feel like home again. Michael's story became more than just one of endurance. It was a testament to resilience, a reminder of the strength found in standing firm against prejudice and hatred. One golden afternoon, as he sat by his pond with the sun warming his face, Michael allowed himself a small, contented smile. Annette's venomous words, which had once loomed so large, were now nothing more than distant echoes. He had faced them, endured them, and emerged stronger. Peace, Michael realized, wasn't merely the absence of conflict. It was the act of protecting what mattered most. His life in Wiltshire wasn't defined by the accusations hurled at him or the rumors that had once spread like wildfire. It was defined by the decades of love and care he had poured into his home, his garden, and his community. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and crimson, Michael raised a glass to the life he had reclaimed. "This is my home," he said softly, his voice steady and unshakable. A smile tugged at the corners of his lips, the words finally ringing true. To stories. Stories of perseverance, of truth, and of the strength found in everyday life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as we continue sharing tales that inspire and remind us all of the power of integrity and resilience. Let's hit 10,000 subscribers together and keep spreading these messages far and wide.